cereal is. Hey!
Yes.
The lyrical ones, we got Michael Kim-Eubanks, a multi-instrumentalist and songwriter whose sound traverses and bends different styles and generations. Michael likes to tell honest and interesting stories that gives others permission to do the same. Michael's previous projects include an alternative rock band and an R&B band, as well as directing music for a couple of local Bay Area churches. Michael also has an ongoing project called the Lament Project, a multimedia, autobiographical, and spiritual exploration, but with so much more to learn. Let's hear it from himself, Michael Eubanks.
You know, y'all were making me sad because I was allergic to milk. So I couldn't eat any of it. Like literally on Saturday morning, my dad would come down the stairs. He would pour a box of Captain Crunch. He poured the milk in, and then he would go back upstairs and sleep for another hour. Okay. I had to have oatmeal. Now, I love oatmeal. I still love oatmeal to this day. That was my thing, right? Like
me too.
Right. But he did this Captain Crunch, and he would come back an hour later. He'd come back in. He had the same white Mercedes-Benz shirt, like the sweatshirt that he wore every Saturday morning with these short shorts on. He's like a well-built guy. He's like 5'10", but he had like huge calves. So he'd like walk down the stairs, be like, "Hey," and you trying to watch. What was I watching? I don't even know. I feel like it was Winnie the Pooh, Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, you know, that kind of deal. And he will eat that Captain Crunch, and I'd just be like, "That looks so good." And then I would have a bite, and I would start coughing because it like triggered an asthmatic reaction in me.
And I mean, with Captain Crunch, you won't really miss as much. That cut up the top of your roof in your mouth. I mean, I mean, that's neither here nor there. We're happy that you're here with us now.
Good. That's good. It's great to be here.
What that says is that your dad was a risk taker, first of all, eating that Captain Crunch and rocking that, you know, that short long sleeve sweater.
Yeah. Like there was a short long sleeve sweater with some short shorts. And then I'd be like, "Hey, let's play some basketball." And he would take me to the woodshed. I mean, he would just like back me down. I was a thin kid, and he wasn't messing around. So
a lot of fundamental lessons being learned in your household. Definitely. You ain't getting no shortcuts, no breaks. You're gonna learn what world is all about right now.
Right now. That's exactly right.
Oh my! How are you doing this evening? How are you doing?
I'm feeling excellent. I'm feeling real good. I was just talking to two of my buddies, and you know, it's a weird life, right? Like one buddy's in Washington, the other one's in Richmond. You know, we can't hang out, but you know, we're doing it. So I'm feeling great.
That's what's up. I mean, thank you for being here with us and you know, taking the time out to have this conversation with us. But more importantly, I mean, kind of take us back. Like you are a multi-instrumentalist, right? You're a songwriter.
Yeah.
I mean, from Captain Crunch and getting dogged out in basketball,
right?
Where does music become the aha, like this is me, this is who I am, this is what I want to do? When did that happen?
Well, so what had happened was that I was born into a divorce. Okay. I'm not trying to take you way back. I can go quick, you know, but I was born into a divorce, but my biological father was a musician. Wow. And so there's a genetic component to things, right? In my mom's family, who they basically raised me, my mom's mom made all of her children play an instrument. They got to choose it. Funny story. One of my aunts was like, "Well, if I get to choose an instrument, I'm gonna try to choose one that you can't find a teacher for." So she was like, "I want to play the accordion," and she thought she was hella clever. And then they found an accordion teacher 3 blocks from their house. So she had to carry an accordion 3 blocks down the street every week for like 4 years.
You ain't getting no ride. You just want to be strong.
Nope, because you thought you were smart. You thought you had this on lock, and then no, thank you. So I think it was sort of by the age of 2, I'm in the children's church choir, right? By the age of 4, I'm taking piano lessons. I grew up in LA, when they still call this South Central. I'm taking piano lessons at LA City College. And it's a wrap after that. Like, I would come home from piano lessons like, this is the best thing ever. And between singing and playing the piano, I was good. And then they told me I could pick another instrument in elementary school. So I was like, I'm going to play the flute. And then I was not secure in myself in junior high school. If anybody was, you are a superior human. I was not. And so all these kids were making fun of me because I was the only boy in the flute section. And so I felt like I couldn't handle it. So I switched to trombone. So I played trombone. Yeah. And then I got bored of trombone. I don't know why. It's actually great. I actually picked it back up again for jazz band. But I got bored of trombone. I looked in the closet of our band room and I saw a French horn. And I was like, I want to play that. And my teacher's like, well, no one's playing it. So I took it home. My mom was like, what is that? I was like, it's a French horn. I'm gonna learn how to play it. She was like, you strange. And then 2 weeks later, I brought it back. I was like, Mr. Zielinski, I'm ready to play now. And then later on, years later, everyone was like, the French horn is like the hardest brass instrument to play. And I was like, no, it's fun. It's great. So I think, everybody's got that thing where it just feels like this is the way you can make sense of the world. Like, that's just instruments, right? So my most recent instrument is my most passionate instrument, which is a guitar. So I picked up the guitar in college. And I've been playing a lot of guitar. And in fact, I have only gained more appreciation for it, especially recently, because essentially there's a way that as I am trying to kind of find a lot of love and grace for myself in a Black body, I am realizing that basically, like, when Black people invented the blues, they did it on the guitar. And then the most famous guitar player no one's ever heard of is a Black queer woman named Sister Rosetta Tharpe. And I like watched her play and I was like, oh, this is the real thing, right? So I think these days I play guitar kind of with a protest energy a little bit. Yeah. So,
which is, I think, kind of pioneering anything, right? It's got some protest energy to it.
Yeah. I don't know if
anytime create.
I would play something. I don't know if it's going to sound good. Is what I'm.
We don't know either. We don't know either.
But no, I mean, we down to go down that road, please, by all means, because I've lost my ability to play anything. So please, let's go. Let's do it.
We would love to hear you. Oh, wow, you're ready with the white pearl. Oh, great.
All right. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
We're gonna just see what happens.
That's right. We're just gonna see what happens. Let's see. What do I need to do is the question. Stuff is plugged in. Here we go. We're gonna try it out. Now, I'm not trying to be too loud, so you'll have to excuse me if some weird happens. I know that if I push those buttons and do that.
So as we sit here on episode 14 of the Lyrical Ones podcast, we are going to experiment live and in the recording. I think we should keep this. We should not lose this. This is fundamental for our growth.
Yes, the Michael Kim-Eubanks experiment on Lyrical Ones.
You can hear my guitar, or you can hear my voice right now, I presume.
Yes, we can hear your voice.
Yes.
Great. Let me see if this guitar is, let me see here. Oh, I know why it's not working. Because sometimes you have to plug stuff in, like
that's true. That's a key component.
It is a key component. See, it's going to work now. The only question
Remember,
is how
guys.
loud it is.
remember, guys. Plug into the source before anything. If you want to make sure you got the juice, or you want to be heard, when you want to hear yourself, go ahead and plug into the source.
Yeah, I mean, oh, I hear it. I hear that hum. That
Yep, there's the
I
hum.
hear that
There's the
hum.
hum. We can get that down. We can get that down. Okay. I heard that. Did you hear that?
I did.
I felt that.
The
Okay.
facial expressions on everybody who just felt it. We heard it.
Okay. 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 Um. So these days, this is crazy. This is not what I expected to be doing, but this is perfect.
It is perfect.
These days, perfect. So I was talking about the Lament Project. In June, you were introducing that. So basically, it's 2014. I am doing kind of church ministry-ish with college students, and summer 2014 is the murders of Eric Garner and Michael Brown. And I don't know what to do with myself anymore. I don't know how to function. I'm explicitly in this season doing ministry with Black students. Like there's several functions of the ministry that I was in at the time. I was in it with Black students at the time. I don't know what to do. I feel like my whole faith is falling apart because I learned in a lot of ways how to follow Jesus in a way that not so much actively, but passively, in my case, told me that everything was just going to be okay. And that, God's going to take care of it. Right. And I just saw a lot of that not happening. Like I wasn't okay. A lot of people weren't okay. And people are dying and it just felt weird to me. Right. So I need a way to continue to hold on to my faith. And I realized that I was kind of like, God, this can't be like it, right? Like I was like, is this the end of the line? Like, am I losing my faith? Is this where it's happening? And then I read these things called lament psalms in the Bible, where the people of God are like, this is terrible. God, save us now, right? And it's very unambiguous. It's very clear what they're saying. And I was like, oh, wait, save us from what? And then I realized that the background program running in the whole Bible is a thing called empire. There is always an empire at work in the Bible. And I was like, what are they doing to them? Oh, they're enslaving them. Oh, right. And then I'm like, well, what about Jesus? And I'm like, oh, this is the worst one. Like the Roman Empire is designed to create peace through violence. It's designed to make people quiet through intense violent poverty and violent physical destruction. And so so all that to say, I was like, okay, I'm good. Like when I see Jesus on the cross now, I'm like, no, that's Jesus being killed by the confluence of powers between the temple that was insecure and Rome that was insecure, and they just wanted power. And Jesus was like, well, I'm going to confront your power with nonviolent resistance by loving the poor. You can do whatever you want to do. I had to start writing songs about that. Like, in order for me to stay sane and to stay grounded, I just had to write songs about that. So I'm gonna sing you. Wow, this is crazy. I'm gonna sing you something I wrote yesterday. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I'm just gonna sing like, I don't know how far I'm going to get into it because it's not really done. But one of the things I like as an artist is situations like this, because often pressure will make you finish things in a way that you're like, oh, I like that. And then sometimes you don't. So I don't have a title for this. but I'll tell you the first two lines and then maybe you might get it. The first two lines are, "We are not your donors. We are not your atoning sacrifice." So, all right, let's see. We're experimenting here, right? So, we are not your donor. We are not your atoning sacrifice. Our blood won't clean your filthy hands. Can't wash away the sins of our troubled land. Oh, Jesus, Lamb of God, your blood is what saves us. Your resurrection is our freedom. Jesus, Lamb of God, killed by the temple and the empire, rose again to mock their violent desires. Oh, there is life in the life of Jesus, in the blood and resurrection of Jesus. So stop killing us. We are not your donors. Your atoning sacrifice.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely remarkable.
So this puts me in like 1968 right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It puts me right in it.
Mm-hmm.
It puts me right in the summer '68. Okay, wow. I wasn't ready to time travel. I wasn't ready for uh an anthem. I wasn't ready for everyone's heart to come out of that. Um, so poignantly, so powerfully, so like precisely, with like acute pain. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like thank you for voicing it, like scoring it just right. Like so, 2014 to
Yeah.
now,
To
here
now.
to now here we are, right? So literally, you say 00 AD, 01 AD
Yeah.
to now,
Yeah.
right? The empire is, on the same hype. It's like
Same.
if I give up my power, it means that you might be lifted up.
Yep. Yep. Like, isn't that crazy though? But like, here's the thing. Like, I love and hate this moment we're having right now. Right. Like I love it because what I think people are realizing who are kind of like trying to keep some semblance of faith in this season is like the old, there's an old expression in the Bible about wineskins, right? Like you try to put new wine in an old wineskin and it breaks, right? Like I think people are discovering that there is a faith that we have been given, a lot of us have been given over the past 50 years in America, and it is insufficient for this moment. It is completely insufficient for this moment. It is a faith that is very violent. It is a faith that is very economically stratified. It is a faith that is that one of the things I believe is that for people, we are distinct, but we're also relational, right? And in a lot of ways, I think the American space, the white American space, is far too individualistic. And so what you have now is you have this moment coming where what we need from people is mutuality. Like we need shared struggle. What we need is a sense of shared communal sacrifice, right? Not martyrdom and not the suffering of the empire that we choose, but we need to say, no, I'm going to give my life of my own accord. Like Jesus says, like I'm giving of my life in this community. And it's for us. It's for us to lift each other up, right? And where are we finding that? We're finding that on the streets. We're finding that in the movements that have been doing work for a long time. And the church is moved, right? Like the church is moved. It's in the streets. Just like that is my observation right now. And so I feel like part of what I want to do is almost to my wife and I are co-pastors. And so part of what we want to do is make space for people to know, like, in this moment, you can find God. You're going to have to evacuate from some white supremacy. Like, it's going to be real hard for you because that's just what we know. All of us. Right. But I want to write stuff and make space for people to say, oh, yeah, like I'm in it. Right. And I need to leave. Or, yeah, I believe that. And you know what? I need to get out. Right. I'm here for that kind of self-reflection and that kind of honesty. Like, I'm here for all that. So I feel like that's kind of the space that I want to make, that I want to see, that I'm proud to be a part of.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Because you're right. I want to add to that. It's like, because it's not just for the believer, right? It's for anyone that thinks they're doing good.
Yes.
Right. It's anyone that says I am an ally of this marginalized group.
Yep.
Right. Because the black man, right, who says he's an ally to the black woman, right? They have to say, well, am I doing it right, or is the way I'm doing it some like structure of white supremacy?
Yep.
Right. Yep. Is the way that I see the person next to me, right, diluted to where the lens that I'm looking through isn't even my own. Right. It's something that I adopted, right, that I'm assimilated into. Right. And right, what I see, the otherness that I see, right, like comes from something that was given to me through trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, right. Say that. Cause
right. So yeah.
That's good. That's really good. And I feel like for myself, part of the reason why from 2014 to now, I feel like I have words and some freedom is because I've had to dial back into some trauma. Like, I've had to say, like, I've had to go around the well again, go around the onion again for another layer and be like, you know, what are those mama issues exactly? Right. Like, we can't pretend like those aren't a part of the complex. Right. So I love that.
Because your line when you say we are not your atoning sacrifice is like indigenous woman.
Yep.
Black trans woman.
Yep.
Like infant, right, with no voice, elderly with no voice, right? It's like anyone that you can look over or leave out. Then because they are killed, right? Now we have a reason to stand up. Like because they are murdered. Now there's a movement behind a life that didn't have to go, and right, a loss that we didn't really need for us. It's like when men say, oh, because I had a daughter, I'm gonna see the world differently, I'm gonna see women differently. It's like, you had the whole time. It's like when Lex Luthor got Superman powers for a day and then he sped it up, and as he's losing them, he says, I could have saved the world. And Superman is like, if you wanted to save the world, Lex, you so smart that you could have saved us anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
And
That's right.
we're sitting here with Jesus in our pews, with Jesus sitting next to us, laying down in the street across from us.
Yep.
Like they say the closest you get to God is the person across from you, right? The quickest way to God, right, is the person in front of you.
Yeah.
Because God says, what you do for the least of these, right, you do for me. And so, like,
Yep.
I hear so many voices in that line, we are not your atoning sacrifice.
Mm,
I hear so many people. I hear so much loss just in this year, right? When you talk about atoning sacrifice, it's like whatever people die to, whatever you want to name it, whatever kind of coronavirus it is,
yep.
novel, new, or something
Old.
they reintroduced, right?
Yep.
Exactly. Whatever it is, people are dying.
Yep.
And and like the way we come together is not by distancing ourselves from everyone's struggle. Like you say, it's learning everyone's struggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it's super super powerful, especially given the conversation we just had with
Mm,
Lexi to now go into this conversation where you're using the kind of the horn, the signal, if you will, to get people to see, right? Like as soon as you hit those strings, emotions are struck, right? And I think that's the most profound thing about it is that, being black in America, historically, music was no, it ain't no was. It's always been ours, right?
yep. Yep.
When
Yep.
it comes to American music, it is black. There's
Yeah.
no denying it. When you take it to the the Yankee Doodle and all that, the man who wrote those songs literally saw music from black people working, copied it, resold it, and he still ended up pouring broke.
Mm-hmm.
So when you sit up here and you look at every song, every genre, everything you've ever listened to within the American context, that is black, fundamentally from the ground up. There
Yep.
ain't no American music industry. There's nothing, there's no pop music, there's no blues, no jazz. There is nothing, right? You don't get a Frank Sinatra without us.
Yeah.
And I think with your words and what you're touching on and how you're bringing the past 2020 years
Yeah.
that we've been living in, that we have been existing in, there's nothing more profound than understanding when we say 2020, it's not just the year, it's how many years it's been.
Yeah.
And here we are now, 2,000 years later, and something that is so profound that people want to use as a tool, right? Some
Yeah.
use it for division, some use it for community, some use it in so many different ways. But when you really look at the story and you really understand what it encompasses and what it's talking about, we're still in it.
We're still in it. Like I was told someone today, like, you know, the dynamics of empire are old, right? We're in the white supremacist version right now. But this is millennia old, like these dynamics, right? Um, as you were talking, I was thinking about a book that I read. It's called Blues People. It's by a pretty important guy, Amiri Baraka. And it tells that story. It tells the story of the music of America from the perspective of Black folks. And he just weaves through these passages of blues music and how blues music got popular and what kind of racism the artist had to deal with to get on a label and how there were like race labels. I think that, I don't know if that's the actual term for it, but there are labels that would only sign Black people, right? Like it was the labels for Black people.
Right.
And how revolutionary Chuck Berry really was. Like that, what Chuck Berry did is unheard of. Like it's Chuck Berry, and then basically it's Chance the Rapper. Like in terms of like, I will buck all of the system. I will do it. I will create my own lane. I will make my own way for my own stuff. And then I'm gonna bring all my friends with me. Right. Like, I'm gonna bring Donnie Trumpet on with me. Like, it's gonna be a thing. We're gonna do this, right? Like, it was so incredible for him to do that. And really, one of the heroes I have, Rosetta Tharpe, like, she died in pain and sad and manipulated far before she was celebrated. And just a warning to the brothers, Sister Rosetta Tharpe was, she grew up in the church, and her first manipulator was her first husband, a black man. So I just feel like, there's always a cautionary tale for me, right? Wherever I stand in terms of like the kind of patriarchy that I have learned to be in, and the way that I unlearn that. Her life is but one cautionary tale, but there are many. But I just feel like you said, the music is everything. The music is everything. The other thing I told somebody is, like, for the most part, Black folks don't have a specific language, right? Like, there are a lot of folks that come to this country, forced or otherwise, and they're coming from another place, and they have a language. And we don't really have a sense of what that is for us anymore. Like, that was taken away from us completely. But what we do have is music. What we do have is art. What we do have are images. What we do have is style, right? We have fashion, right? Like, there's all these non-verbal dialects of Blackness that speak to us, that do a thing that feels like it's a native language to us. That I just love. I love it. I love it so much. That's part of the reason I love music in that way.
Definitely, I share the sentiments.
As a singer-songwriter, Michael Eubanks, I feel as if, because I've written songs as well, it's almost as if you have a responsibility to the culture, as well as to yourself, to express life, or some may say express your art from your viewpoint, to make sure that your truth is being expelled and being seen and acknowledged. So I would say, in the same fashion that Chuck Berry was using all of his multifacets of being musically inclined, you are doing just the same,
appreciate
sir.
that. That's some high praise. It truly, but I think it's so important, like, especially right now, like, especially in this moment, I'm looking for all the artists that are giving us language to kind of stay grounded in this moment, right? Like, when I talk to people from age 30 to 70, especially old heads, the uncles, the grandpas, right? Like, I got some folks, they're like, this is not a drill, right? Like this is not a drill. We're here now. This is the next one. And I'm like, oh, okay, right? Like, I needed them to tell me, because I wasn't gonna like sound an alarm. This is the next movement of America. Like, I'm too young to be saying that. But when my elder tells me that, I'm like, okay, we're here. Okay, cool. And you're right. Like, there is a responsibility in this moment. Like, it is joyful, but it's not for fun. Like, I just got to say, like, there's a lot of joy, and also there's some work to be done.
Come on, y'all done got on me. I'm
You're
trying
right.
to give y'all
You're
that
right.
time.
No, oh no, you ain't got to defend. You don't have to defend your silence, brother. You don't have to defend your silence at all. Now, Michael, I wanted to know how you and your wife are using music in your co-pastorship,
Yeah.
To speak to your congregation in this time.
Yeah, that's a good question. And in fact, if with us being on Zoom, I think we're using music a lot less. And so personally, what I'm trying to do is make sure I'm attentive to these moments where I'm expressing what I think are these like small slivers of moments, and then trying to put it out there as much as I can. I'm trying to figure out how to do that because I've never really, like, to be honest, like I made a lot of music over the course of my life. I've always relied on like a physical audience to tell a story. So I feel like I'm behind in that way. So I'm playing a little catch up in that way. But as far as at our church, I think we're actually trying to use more than music. One of the things that we're trying right now is kind of a centering via images, right? Like I feel like a lot of the church space right now is heavy on words. People are trying to explain stuff, trying to break down what's going on. And I feel like actually what we do is we're trying to use other media and silence, right? Like I think that people just need a moment of silence to be able to dial into themselves right now. And to just be like, what's happening for me? Like, what is my body telling me? What is the spirit telling me? What am I feeling? How am I being agitated? How am I being moved? And to answer that for yourself, right? Like, you don't need us to tell you that. Like that's the thing. Like we need to, like we exist in community. And so there's a way that we bring that into a communal space, but also we just need the space to dial in and say what's happening for ourselves. So silence is important for us. We're trying stuff with images right now. There's a couple of artists doing some really dope stuff, visual artists that we're trying to kind of engage and just say, like, again, let's engage another sense. And then, we have a pretty radical, this is going to sound old school, but you just go with me. We have a pretty radical view of communion, the bread and the wine, right? If Jesus was a guy that was executed because of a conspiracy between the empire and the temple, then when we celebrate communion, it's really what you were talking about, where it's like, where do I go? Like where is Jesus? Jesus is with the suffering. Jesus is with those who are sick. Jesus is with those who are mourning, who are grieving. So when we take communion, it's actually a moment of solidarity, right? And actually, before we got to this church, it was actually this church's convictions about communion, wherein, like, it's supposed to actually be a meal, right? Like in a lot of the history of the church, this thing is actually supposed to be accompanied by an actual feast, right? And our church noticed, like, there's some people not being fed. So they started a food pantry, right? Like the food pantry is an act of communion. It's an act of saying we believe that everyone should be physically fed, right? And we're not trying to spiritualize anything. Like, people need to eat. So that was started a while ago. It's still happening on our facility. It's actually the only thing happening on our facility right now. It happens every Thursday night. And they've seen a 50% increase since March, since COVID time, right? Wow. So I think communion is that other thing that is this moment of intense solidarity. And it's kind of sad that we're not together, because when we do it, it's a together moment. We get up out of our seats, we go and we like embrace each other. It's this moment of reminding ourselves in our body that we're a community, right? So I think those are the things right now, kind of beyond the music, because music over Zoom is average at best. It's okay, but but we're leaning into other stuff because we have the opportunity to try some stuff.
Nice.
So where's this church at? Just to put that
San Leandro, California, my friends. San Leandro. We're on Bancroft Avenue. If folks that are nearby San Leandro want to volunteer at the food pantry, you can hit me up, because it's actually it started from the church and now it's its own nonprofit, but the church still is very much connected to it, and they need some volunteers. In fact, I'm trying to figure out how to give my time, because I got 2 babies and we had to figure out, the babies. Are the babies going to be okay?
Real real quick, so we can put it down and share it.
Yeah.
Where can they reach out to you for, like, say people got time tomorrow at
Yeah.
such and such? What time is the food pantry tomorrow?
It is 6 to 8 every Thursday. And so what you want to do is you can check out bethel-community.org, bethel-community.org. And we have a place, a spot on our website called, I think it's called Partners. And they're one of the partners. So you can email them directly and they'll get back to you. They're in need of volunteers. And so they're not going to tell you no. And it's not rocket science. You give people bags of vegetables and you help people get fed.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with us, and really, you've fed us musically. You've fed us in the sense spiritually a bit in this whole conversation that we've all been engaging with. I definitely feel a little bit more refreshed. So I want to thank everyone for just being here, for being present.
No, definitely. And I just want to also kind of, I do want to know, how did it end up being San Leandro of all places? I mean, you saying you came from what was once called South Central to now being in San Leandro, and you are a Black man. So please, can you kind of give us some insight to that journey?
It was an accident. I just got to say. So I was in South Central. I went to UCLA. I was around UCLA for a long time. My wife and I met on a blind date, but she was up here. She was in Berkeley. So we dated for a while, and then I moved up here, and we were in Berkeley for a long time. I think we were in Berkeley almost 10 years. And then life twisted us around, and we ended up kind of in the Eden area. So we were working at a church at Castro Valley, Hayward, and then got sent to San Leandro. And when we got to San Leandro, I have a habit of wanting to know the history of the places I live. And I looked up the history and I was like, what? This place is racist. So we're finding that out now because the police keep killing people in San Leandro, and my wife is very involved in some activism. And so we're doing it. We're doing it.
I mean, talk about the call to action. You are in the place to be. I mean, that's why I said it the way I did, because it is one of those things that if you don't know, it's easy to overlook what's going on everywhere. And you just look underneath a rock, you gonna find something. And I think that's kind of the crucial component to you being in San Leandro and having the message, you showing up the way that you are, doing the things that you do. And it's important, like, understand, like, San Leandro is within the Bay Area, kind of, what we would call the Bay Area, but you don't often hear it brought up in the news. You don't really see it make the headlines, but there is things happening all the time. And so, the power of you being able to be with us this evening and saying those things and being who you are and showing up the way that you have highlights the layers, the complexities of what we all are traveling through and what we're all dealing with. Because, it just to highlight it, we got to do it. If you didn't know, there's a jersey on the screen that says Wakanda
forever.
Wakanda forever, for real, for real. The importance of Chadwick Boseman in all the roles he's played, but not just to highlight what he's done, but what he was dealing with while he was doing it, right? Everyone has a struggle. Reserve some space to give a person that ability to go through their struggle, because it's easy to be on the outside looking in and you want to say what it's like. You don't know, because it's not your life. And I think that's pivotal and crucial at a time like this, where you are exploring with us and showing us so much, but we have to really be mindful of our kinship to each other and giving us that space and compassion, that empathy to understand I'm going through something. You could very well be going through your own thing. And Chadwick Boseman is someone who we lost as a collective, as a community, as a whole, as a figure that we all looked up to in different capacities. But he had his own battle. He had his own fights while he showed up for us, while he carried the weight of us on his back. And I think that's kind of important that we really take that into account. And given the last week that we had, because that topped off a week of loss after loss after loss. So, before anything else, let's have a moment of silence for everyone that we've lost, including Chadwick Boseman in this time. Often we do this and it happens more than enough. It's one thing when it's done through natural causes, it's another thing when it's done through tragedy. And I think that, for all of us, especially in what you were singing, what you gave us, and what Affluence said, right? Like, I need to value and fight for you while you're here. I need to show up for you while you're in front of me. It's
Mm-hmm.
not enough to engage after the fact, right? We often say you don't know how good you got it till it's gone, and we lose so much that we need to stop going with when it's gone, and we need to go with appreciating and giving ourselves to when it's here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Really understanding the power in everything that there is in existence, not when it's no longer here and we don't have
Mm-hmm.
access to it. Don't be selfish with it, right? Appreciate it. Take that time out. Really connect, build, talk to, see, validate, acknowledge that person.
Yeah.
Because right now, we don't know what everybody going through, right? You got to take care of the babies. And the babies are going to learn through your practice and how you are. And that's for all the babies.
Yep.
But it's more important for me to uplift and honor and value what you're doing in front of me versus anything happening beyond that. And that's kind of where hopefully we come from every time we come this week after every week. It's about community, it's about each other, it's about building, it's about exploring and discovering. And I think that, for me, I'm uplifted. I know I need this every week, but I appreciate you giving us so much of yourself in this moment, and really just giving us a whole vibe and a mood. Because I'm like, man, I gotta go do some reading. I gotta go listen to some songs. I gotta dig deeper in my own, you know, history to really redefine my present. And I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And thank you for being here with us. I mean, is there anything else you would like to highlight and uplift at this time?
Um, y'all are amazing. This is. I mean, I love the lyrical family. It's been a great space. And I love who you are. And um, my Instagram is Eubanksme, EUBANKSME. That's kind of the place where I'm trying to drop a lot of stuff these days. I feel like it's fun to be on Instagram right now. I'm really enjoying kind of that space. Um, and then I'd be remiss if I did not tell you that my wife is brilliant, and that if you are trying to understand kind of, you know, justice issues from a particular lens, she's writing about that on her Medium page. Erina is her name, Erina. So you can look up Erina Kim-Eubanks on Medium, and you will be able to you'll get some knowledge. She'll drop some on you. So this is
Okay.
great. This is amazing.
No,
Well, thank
definitely. I mean, we
you.
definitely gonna have to get a concert. We're gonna have to get you
Yes,
for our
yeah.
first Friday pop off or something, because you done changed the whole focus of where I'm trying to take this.
That's what happened to me. I hear these chords, right? I hear these first strings, and like my camera, everything around me just starts like floating. It's like everything is now like weightless around me, as like the show itself, right? Is we've gone somewhere else now, June, like we're somewhere different now. So like June was in the studio a few weeks ago, and I was
Mm,
like, oh man, the show is something different.
mm,
And then we had like some stories being told, some Asian American stories being told, and we had Stay on, and the show went somewhere else. And then then tonight we have Lexi and Michael come on and he plays these strings after what Lexi just finished saying, and like we've gone somewhere else, and it's trippy to me to like to see that happen, because like what I get, like I think most, like what I take away from you tonight is that we cannot, like the elders told you, like we cannot let this time go without creators creating.
That's it.
Like, period. Like, because I think when I think about design per person and then collectively, and we talked about, Lexi talked about our roles in fighting for freedom, and everyone's role being important, then, right, every creator's role is definitely important, because the creator then is someone who hopes, right? Right, because they're creating out of something that's not necessarily there.
Yep.
Until they create it.
Yep.
And their lens is unique to them and their experience and their traumas and their growth. And so we can't like let this time, if it's 1968 and 2020, right, then we do all have a responsibility to go into our space, our room, our corner, our NPC, our keyboard, our notepad, like wherever we create our canvas, whatever it looks like, right, and then go off. Whether you share it or not, it doesn't need to stay in you. And I think that's what I'm loving about like the multitude of podcasts and the multitude of platforms that now the internet is becoming something that it always should have been, I think. And now we have the opportunity, with life a little slower for some, to listen. And whenever I write something, I'm telling you where I come from. If you wrote something yesterday, right, then you're telling me about your journey from then to today.
Yep.
Right. And then everything before that, of course, comes with you. But as soon as I create something, right, then I'm telling you about my life, and I'm telling you where I'm coming from. So I'm telling you my history, right? Yeah. And like our history, yes, is important for like where we're going, but like our history, I think it's listening to each other's history, right? Is how we learn about each other, right? And then it's how we love each other, right? It's like when you go around and listen to people, like you're loving them.
People's now is listening to tomorrow's history, so that's it. Just we're recreating history as we speak.
Yes, June. Yes.
But I do have a little request. It doesn't have to be now, but typically when we sign off, we do a lyrical one song. But I was going to ask Mr. Michael Kim-Eubanks if there was something on his heart he wanted to play before we all skedaddle for the evening. But it doesn't have, no, there's no rush.
Let me see. What do I want to do? Oh, that's what I want to do. Okay. So there's an artist named Reverend Sekou. You should find him. He is brilliant. He is some kind of African that grew up in Arkansas, and he's about 5 feet 4 inches tall. You should look up his tiny desk. There's a song written by the Peace Poets, who are an artist collective in New York City, and he sung this song. It's called Neighbor. So let me see. All right. It goes like this. I can hear my neighbor crying, saying I can't breathe. Now I am in the struggle, saying I can't leave. We're calling out the violence of the racist police, and we ain't gonna stop until the people are free. We're calling out the violence of the racist police, and we ain't gonna stop until the people are free.
Ashe. Thank you.
Episode 14, Lyricist Ones. This has been an amazing and powerful night. This is crazy. This is everything I needed it to be. You are with us. We are with you. Michael, thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time out, for experimenting with us in the moment and giving us what we needed. This was healing, this was nourishing, this was fulfilling to the soul. And you know, the as we take it back to what Lexi was saying around code switching, it's really understanding the love language that needs to be conversed or communicated with whoever we are talking to. And in this moment in time, the love language is very clear, has been spoken profoundly, and it is highly appreciated. So if there's anybody with any closing thoughts or closing words, please, by all means, this is the time to let it fly.
I want to thank my co-hosts, Junie B, Cineo Sin. I want to thank our guests tonight, Michael Kim-Eubanks and Lexi Butler. Just want to thank the ancestors, like literally, if you just define them as those folks who are not with us no more, for supporting us, for lifting us up and putting us on their shoulders. And I'm just in a place of gratitude, I think, right now, because it's interesting, like when you move in your purpose and then get to see other people moving in their purpose and in their design, because I think that's when you can see like the world changing. So like for me, it's like when people say, where's the change happening? What do what's next? I think today is next. Tomorrow is next. Waking up and listening to what's calling you and calling to your spirit and to your heart. And when you taking those moments where you have somebody in front of you and treating it as precious, because now we're in a space where we don't have as many people in front of us, or the way that we are in front of each other is different now. It's digital, but it's not less precious. And so I thank you, for being a part of this precious moment with me, guys, and allowing me to be here. I love it. Lyrical Ones, 1-4, double sevens. We made it. That's 2 weeks of, no, it's not. It's
14 weeks.
14 days in. is 14 days is 2 weeks. We, 3 months and 3.5 months in. That's nice. Who knew we get this far?
Who knew we get this far? You see?
And they just keep getting better. This is your commute podcast. This is us rounding it up for the night. If you got a long commute, we thank you for being an essential worker. If you don't have a long commute and you just got gardening and babysitting or homeschooling to do, and you put us on in the background, we didn't get no cussing in tonight, so this is a good episode to listen to with your kids. Yeah, thanks for being here. We love you. Lyrical Ones.
Lyrical Ones, we out.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever.